Before we step into tonight's case, do yourself a favor. Hit subscribe, drop a comment, and stay with us. Because once you hear what happened inside that burning house, you'll realize the truth is always darker than the flames. The first call came in at 2:14 a.m. A frantic neighbor shouting about an explosion, a house engulfed in fire, and a man wandering the front yard screaming for someone who wasn't there. By the time firefighters tore through the blaze, half the home had collapsed. A cloud of black smoke rolled across the Maryland street like a living thing, swallowing the night and choking out the silence that usually rested over the small suburban neighborhood. The man outside was Michael Reeves, a 58-year-old woodworking contractor with a face carved by years of stress, financial ruin, and a marriage falling apart one argument at a time. When officers approached him, Michael's hands were slick with gasoline, his eyes unfocused, and his skin reddened from flash burns. He kept repeating one thing: "She made me do it. You don't understand. She pushed me too far." Inside the house, investigators found the remnants of a bedroom swallowed whole by flame. Charred beams, melted furniture, and the unmistakable odor of accelerant. But the room wasn't random. It was his estranged wife's bedroom, a space she'd claimed after their separation 3 months earlier. She wasn't home that night, and that fact alone would become the first mystery. Hours earlier, police logs confirmed she'd called 911, warning dispatchers her husband was losing it and threatening to blow up the house. The officers responded, but by the time they arrived, Michael had locked himself inside, yelling through the walls that he just wanted to be left alone. They couldn't force entry without cause, and eventually he stopped shouting. They thought he'd calm down. They were wrong. As dawn crept over the street, investigators began sifting through debris. Among the rubble, they recovered something unusual: a metal gas can wedged behind the bed frame, positioned in a way no accidental fire could explain. Even stranger, they found a single scorch-resistant envelope tucked under a half-burned dresser. Inside was a printed bank statement and a handwritten note. It was short, only 7 words. "If I lose everything, so will she." Detectives immediately suspected the worst, a premeditated act fueled not by rage alone, but by something colder, more controlled. But when they questioned the wife, Anna Reeves, she didn't react the way they expected. No crying, no panic. She stood in the smoky driveway with her arms crossed tightly and said 4 words that froze the lead detective in place. Michael wasn't acting alone. She didn't elaborate. She just stared at the burning shell of the house, her expression unreadable, as if she knew something they didn't, something big, something dangerous. And then she asked a chilling question. "Did you check the basement?" He frowned. "Why?" Anna swallowed. "Because if he really did this on his own, then what you're going to find down there won't make any sense." He didn't understand what she meant, not yet. But 30 minutes later, when the firefighters pried open the warped basement door and shined their lights into the darkness, what they found changed everything. The air that seeped from the basement was different, thick, stale, and carrying a chemical bite that made even seasoned firefighters step back. Detective Rowan held his breath as he descended the stairs, the beam of his flashlight trembling across scorched concrete. The deeper he went, the clearer it became. This wasn't just a storage space. It was something else entirely. At the bottom of the stairs stood a makeshift workshop, its walls lined with tools, wires, metal scraps, and neatly stacked containers. Some were melted from the heat, but others remained intact. And in the center of the room sat a half-assembled device. Small, cylindrical, wired, and unmistakable. A homemade explosive. Not big enough to level a neighborhood, but powerful enough to kill someone in a confined room. Powerful enough to send a message. Rowan's heart slammed against his ribs. This wasn't just arson, he whispered. He was building a bomb.
But as he moved closer, he saw something that made even less sense. A second workstation, directly across from the first, neatly organized and untouched by the fire. A different set of tools, a different set of fingerprints, a different handwriting labeling the jars. 2 people had been working down here. Upstairs, Anna Reeves waited with her arms wrapped around herself, staring blankly at the flashing lights. Rowan approached her, holding up a melted piece of the wiring board. Your husband wasn't acting alone. Who else had access to this basement? Anna didn't hesitate. He had a friend, someone he trusted more than he trusted me, someone who hated me even more than he did. Name, she exhaled shakily. Derek Holloway. The name hit Rowan with a jolt. Derek was Michael's co-worker, a longtime friend with a history of explosive temper outbursts, restraining orders, and violent threats. But he'd been clean for years, off the radar, quiet. Too quiet. Rowan stepped aside to radio dispatch. Put out a BLO on Derek Holloway, possible accomplice, possible co-conspirator. Then he lowered his voice. Possible suspect with access to explosives. As he spoke, a fire marshal jogged up to them, breathing hard. Detective, you need to see this. It was buried under the workbench. He handed Rowan a burned Polaroid photo. The edges were blackened, but the image was still visible. Anna, standing next to her car, completely unaware the picture was being taken. Behind her, half hidden in the bushes, stood 2 shadows. One was unmistakably Michael. The second, taller, broader, face turned away, but familiar enough for Anna to choke back a sob. That's him, she whispered. That's Derek. The timeline began to shift. Maybe Michael hadn't been the mastermind. Maybe he wasn't thinking clearly. Maybe Derek had fueled the paranoia, whispered poison, and fed Michael's anger until it ignited. Literally. But before Rowan could question Anna further, a rookie officer sprinted toward them. Detective, we just checked Michael's phone. And? The officer swallowed hard. There's a message sent 1 hour before the fire, from Derek's number. Rowan grabbed the phone. The message was simple, direct, and ice cold. Do it before she ruins you. I'll take care of the rest. Rowan looked up, blood draining from his face. If Derek was encouraging the fire, then what exactly was he planning to take care of? Far across town, a second 911 call came in. A woman's scream, a car door slamming, and then silence. The dispatcher barely finished typing the address before Rowan was already shouting to mobilize every unit, because the address belonged to Anna's sister. And if Derek Holloway truly was involved, the night was far from the over. The drive to Anna's sister's house was a blur of sirens and cold adrenaline. Detective Rowan gripped the steering wheel with white knuckles, every worst-case scenario crowding his thoughts. If Derek Holloway had already struck once, he wouldn't stop now. Men like him escalated. They fed on chaos, on fear, on revenge imagined or real. When Rowan arrived, the scene was eerily quiet. No fire, no broken windows, no yelling. Just the faint glow of a porch light flickering over a front door left slightly ajar. The silence hit Rowan harder than any explosion ever could. "Police!" he shouted, weapon drawn as he pushed through the doorway. Inside, the living room looked untouched except for a single overturned lamp. In the corner, Anna's sister Grace sat on the floor with her wrists bound and tape across her mouth, trembling violently. Rowan ripped the tape off and freed her hands. He took her, she gasped. He took Anna. Rowan froze. When? 10 minutes ago, she sobbed. He said she still had something he wanted. Those words echoed through Rowan like a threat carved into stone. Derek wasn't just violent, he was deliberate. This wasn't random, it was a plan years in the making, and now his loose ends were tightening into a noose around Anna. Before Rowan could ask her more, Grace handed him something Derek had dropped on the floor.
Rowan opened it slowly. A map. Not of the neighborhood, not of the town, but of Michael and Anna's old property.
long before the renovations, before the marriage began to decay. The map showed the layout of the land as it was years ago, including a structure that no longer existed, a shed. A shed that, according to every record, had been demolished over a decade ago. But maybe it wasn't demolished. Maybe it was relocated, hidden, repurposed. And maybe that was where Derek was taking her. Rowan radioed every available unit and sped back toward the outskirts of the Reeves property. When he arrived, firefighters were gone, but smoke still lingered in the air, like a ghost refusing to leave. Behind the charred shell of the home, Rowan spotted it, partially concealed behind an overgrown fence. A shed. Small, old, unmapped. And its padlock hung broken. "Anna!" Rowan shouted, bursting inside. The room was dim, lit by a single hanging bulb. Along the wall were photos, hundreds of them, of Anna going back years. Grocery stores, parking lots, inside her own home. Derek had been watching her far longer than anyone realized. At the center of the room, Anna sat tied to a chair, terrified but unharmed. Standing behind her was Derek Holloway. His face was calm, almost serene. "You shouldn't have come alone," Derek said. Rowan kept his voice level. "It's over. Let her go." Derek shook his head. "No, she took Michael away from me. She took everything away from us." His voice cracked with obsession. "I warned him. I told him she'd ruin the plan." "What plan?" Rowan asked cautiously. Derek stepped forward. "To rebuild everything he lost, to start fresh, to make her pay." But he hesitated. He got weak, so I helped him do what he couldn't. "And now," Rowan said quietly, "now I finish it." He reached for something behind Anna, a detonator wired to the same components found in the basement. But before his fingers touched it, a red dot appeared on his chest. "Drop it," a voice commanded. SWAT flooded the shed in a wave of black uniforms and shouts. Derek froze as the beam of a rifle sight centered on his sternum. His hand hovered, twitching, then finally fell to his side. It was over. Minutes later, Anna was in an ambulance, shaking but alive. Derek was cuffed and silent, led past Rowan with the burning eyes of a man whose warped mission had been ripped away. As Rowan stepped into the cool night air, he glanced back at the shed, at the pictures, the wiring, the shrine of obsession Derek had spent years building. One thought chilled him. Michael might have lit the match, but Derek built the fire. And as Rowan walked away from the scene, he knew this case would haunt him forever. Because evil doesn't always lurk in the dark. Sometimes it moves into the house next door and waits. If you thought this case was intense, you're not ready for what comes next. Hit subscribe, you won't want to miss it.